Monday morning. I'm Stephen McCollum, and you're watching McCollum on Business. On this Monday morning, right after the weekend, usually it's just tons of information flying around, which is affecting the Monday morning markets and stories that we have out there for you. But for the next 30 minutes or so, I'll get you updated on what the market's doing early this morning on the Monday. Look at stocks we're paying attention to, local and national stories as well. Let's get into it with that Market Watch. Well, everything's down for the most part. The Russell 2K is teetering between positive and negative here this morning. Basically, U.S.-Iran worries have gone back into the market here today as well. Losses are, as you can see, just basically very little out there. No major run-up. Oil is jumping this morning after Iran and the U.S. attacked commercial ships about the tensions around the Strait of Hormuz, let's just call it that as well, out there. But that is creeping into the market again here this morning. If you don't know what happened over the weekend, the U.S. Navy fired on an Iranian container ship in the Gulf of Oman. Marines did take custody of the vehicle at that time. Then earlier in the weekend, I believe it was Saturday, the Iran Revolutionary Guard fired on a tanker in the Strait of Hormuz as well. That was a container ship. Another container ship was hit by a projectile as well at that time. So kind of out there. Well, this morning, West Texas Intermediate's up 5.6%. As of now, Brent is up 4.3% here. Basically trading 88.54 for direct West Texas. Brent's at $94.18. So all of that means market is just kind of optimistic this morning on where we're standing. Dow Jones right now down the 3 points to 49,459. S&P 500 down 10, 71.16 for the S&P 500 as well. Then you got the NASDAQ out there down 71 points to 24,396. Then you got the Russell 2K as you see. The lone one up right now, but it is only 2 points up to 2780. So a optimistic day here on the market, or a cautious day, let's put it that way, so far here early on this Monday morning. Bitcoin also went backwards about 4% over the weekend, but it got it all back here as well as the weekend went on. 75,294 for Bitcoin here on this Monday morning as well. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, well, we can look at a lot of industries with oil prices going back up, airlines, cruise lines, etc., energy companies with gas prices going back up. But we know what they do when gas prices fluctuate at the level they're doing right now. So instead, we're going to look at some technology stocks out there. Marvel Technology specifically is the first one we're going to look at. Now, AI, is what these guys do. They build chips, etc. Well, 5.33% up here for Marvel Technology. The media company called The Information, well, they said Marvel Technologies is in talk with Google to build 2 new AI chips. So that happened. Then you got Broadcom, which is our next stock we're going to look at. Well, they're down 1.17% today, because they actually recently agreed to produce future versions of the Google AI chips. Yeah. So Marvel's saying they're in talks with Google to build those 2 chips. And now Broadcom, who's already in agreement to build them, is down today because obviously who's going to get this, who's not, kind of the question we're looking forward to here this morning in terms of the AI side of things. Then we got Top Build as a company we're going to look at. If you don't know what they do, either did I had to look it up. They are an installer and distributor of insulation materials is what they do. 17.19% up here. Early this morning in trading, well, they said that they're going to they're going to be acquired by a company called QXO. Yes, QXO said in a release the acquisition will create a higher margin business, and it will be immediately seen in the QXO company earnings moving forward as well. So $17 billion installation company being acquired by a company called QXO out there. 17.29% up for Top Build Corp this morning. So obviously, if all the eyes are on the Iran war situation, the 2 week ceasefire actually ends here coming up on Tuesday, tomorrow as well. So a lot of question marks out there, and we'll look back at the market here later on the program again as we close out the show. But first, let's get into other stories out there around the business world that you need to know here on this Monday. Today is the official day that businesses can begin filing for tariff refunds. Yes, the federal government is starting to unwind those billions of dollars in import duties. Now, these are the ones that were deemed illegal by the Supreme Court under those emergency powers. So, this could be one of the largest repayments to importers in U.S. history. Not could be, it's going to be. At 8 p.m. Eastern Time today, so 5 p.m. our time, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the CBP, they'll launch the first phase of a new claim system that is going to allow importers to seek repayment on tariffs collected under that emergency. Now, this is the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the IEEPA, is what we are talking about here. So the Supreme Court, said these tariffs were illegal. Then another court had to come out and kind of to strategize how the government needs to do refunds as well. That judge at the U.S. Court of International Trade directed CBP to remove the tariffs from effective entities and then refund the excess duties collected along with interest. And that's where we are today as well with this system being built. They've been testing it for a couple of weeks, as we've told you here at McCollum on Business. Court filings do show more than 330,000 importers paid duties on over 53 million shipments. That's about $166 billion that could be refunded as these companies request that money. Officials have warned the process could be complicated now because it is a large process to undertake. In court filings, CBP described the volume of refunds as quote unprecedented was their word unquote, noting that existing systems were not designed to handle so many claims as well. So they're also thinking, they built a ground up system, based off of that initial system that they know is not going to handle it. But they are anticipating the requirement of manual processing to get this done as well. And what I have a question on this is, if importers get large money refunds, does that do for pricing? What does that do for things like that? If people are going to start getting back millions of dollars that they've had to pay in rebates, so I haven't seen the answer to that yet out there. Do the companies just pocket the money, and then now it'll show us a huge profit for them out there? So it'll be interesting to see where that does eventually fall out to there. And then the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, they announced last week, well, keep this in mind if you're traveling here over the summer, they're going to implement a scheduling reduction at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. That's because the airlines that serve the airport, well, they plan to scale up flights, even though there's significant levels of cancellation and delays already before they scale up the flights. O'Hare is the busiest airport in the United States. That's based off of flight volume. They had over 3,080 flights planned on peak days for summer 2026. That's a 14.9% increase from peak days last summer in 2025. And then 60% of arrivals and departures were on time last year. Now they want to do another 14.9% increase on top of that. The FAA's scheduling reduction is going to limit O'Hare's daily operations to 2,708 flights. That's to prevent the dramatic increase from last summer's peak daily schedule. Because basically, what they're trying to do is prevent a high volume of delays and also cancellations there at O'Hare. The flight limitations will be in effect from May 17th to October 24th of 2026. So they're trying to get the already exuberant problems done there for delays there at Chicago O'Hare, not add to it here coming up. So something to be aware of here if you're traveling across the country here this summer. O'Hare's a busy airport, folks. And last summer had 60% flight delays, by the way, over the summer, or cancellations. I mean, on time. So that means 40% of flights were delayed or on time, or delayed or canceled there at O'Hare last year. So just keep that in mind when you're booking your stuff out there as well. And we've talked a lot here, and kind of an update for you on the NFL kind of being probed by Congress right now, and federal regulators all over how much it's costing to watch the programming here with their antitrust exemption. Well, Congress is involved now, and those federal regulators and those members of Congress, well, they are voicing louder and louder frustration with the NFL's media rights, and they're vowing to rein in the unmatched leverage in the live sports marketplace. So the NFL, which of course the commissioner's Roger Goodell, he's kind of the head guy over powerful, very rich men there, NFL owners. But the NFL is reportedly the subject of an investigation by the Department of Justice, with regulators alleging it engaged in anti-competitive behavior when negotiating its recent record-breaking deals, providing the rights to several companies to broadcast its games. And they're reopening this window up right now as well, only just a couple years after they just got it. Obviously, the NFL is the most popular, it's the most profitable sports league in the world, and it isn't even close out there. It's a very wide margin. The NFL raked in more than $110 billion with its most recent broadcast rights agreements, and has for decades partnered with legacy media companies. That would be Fox, CBS, Disney, which is, for instance, ABC's, ESPN as well. Those were the ones where those were the companies they were with for a long time to show its games. That's the ones that are over linear broadcast channels out there as well. So again, Fox, CBS, ABC, ESPN, etc. But as we know, in this new era of sports broadcasting, it now involves streaming tech companies with deep pockets. All these questions are emerging about how the NFL does business and what that means for us, the consumers, and what's fair to us and everything with our prices going up to watch these games. NFL games are, as you know, becoming more and more locked behind the paywalls of Netflix and those streaming services, Peacock, making it more expensive for fans to watch your favorite team. Fans who wish to watch every NFL game last year, uh, well, they had to pay upwards of $1,000. I saw some people say up to $1,200, but that was to subscribe to 10 services to watch your NFL football. Yes. The NFL has noticed this intense scrutiny coming to them by federal regulators and Congress. Yes, the NFL has actually stepped up its lobbying and public relations efforts over there in Washington D.C. Well, they've ramped them up significantly in recent years. They spent more than $1 million in campaign contributions last year to try to get this squashed down a little bit. On what we're looking at. And if you're watching the NBA playoffs right now, right, all the games, all the play-in games over last week were on Amazon Prime. Now tonight, you want to watch any games? Peacock for the games tonight as well. So the NFL's definitely not the one dealing with that right now, and it all resolves around the antitrust exemption that the NFL has. They're able to do things that other companies aren't able to do with other companies because of that. So that's why the Congress can actually overrule them a little bit here going forward. And here's an interesting story for you as well on the national side. Kind of a male dominant industry for a lot of years, or at least thought of that. But a growing number of women, well, they become leaders inside that male dominant industry. And even that, the outsiders aren't always welcomed in this specific industry. A lot of territorialism as well. Well, women are now launching their own brands, finding new ways to innovate. All of this is distilling and blending. Yes, folks, whiskey. And also, more women are drinking whiskey today as well. And that's long been known as a drink that's by guys in smoky rooms, right? That deal with that. So the whiskey here in America, at least, has been a masculine profession, at least perceived so, and it's slowly changing here as think times are changing. Let's put it that way. Industry experts and historians, well, they're quick to point out that women have always been involved in the process, and actually were likely key to the survival of the whiskey business here in the United States over Kentucky specifically. The first distilling instrument, well, it was created by a woman. She was an alchemist from around the second century, is where that comes from. And then, distilling was largely seen as women's work as they were in charge of the home brewing of it. Also, women made medicine, taking care of the home, and home brewing, folks. Women notably managed distilleries in the 1800s in Kentucky. Yeah, and a gal named Catherine Carpenter. She recorded the first known recipe for sour smash. All right, that's the most common style of American whiskey that's out today. Women did lead the temperance movement in the 19th and 20th centuries, but historians estimate there may have been more female bootleggers than men during the Prohibition. An interesting reason why that is. Well, women were less likely to be searched by police and deemed as doing something incorrect. So I just want to say, I saw now this article had a big list of women owned distilleries and women owned in those male fields and how they're kind of breaking into it. So if you're interested in that, do a quick Google search on that. It'll come right up for you. But another industry dominated by men, getting more and more women, especially with this downturn in drinking and alcohol sales happening right now. And when we come back here at McCollum on Business, got a bunch of local stories to tell you about. Well, APS wants to give you a heads up on how to get ready for your fire season, especially if you're in rural Arizona. So those of you in rural Arizona that watch us, first of all, thank you. We got this story for you. You know what to do, but we'll just remind you here. We'll look at stocks here as well. We're going to look at a company called AST Space Mobile, Newmont, and Freeport McMoran. Those are two miners out there, meaning mining companies, not young people. Come on back, folks. McCollum on Business, Monday edition. And we're back here, McCollum on Business Monday edition. Appreciate you joining us here live at Robat TV. Of course, as soon as we're done here, well, we put this up on demand on the YouTube page. TME Media AZ is where you can find that YouTube page, or just search the show name, The Pit Stop with Steven, or the McCollum on Business, the main event as well, even. You can find us there at TME Media AZ. Don't forget to follow our X page as well for our parent company, is what the TME Media AZ is. Our media company, parent company here of our production side of things. Well, TME Media AZ on X as well. And then we roll right into the Monday edition of the main event. Lots happened over the weekends, right? Suns, first round of the playoffs as well. Diamondbacks won another series. But left a little bitter taste in your mouth after yesterday's game out there. NBA, NHL playoffs all starting over the weekend. So we'll get into all of that here. 8 to 10 a.m. live here at Robat TV. Then on demand here at the YouTube page as well. TME Media AZ. They're on YouTube as well. Then you got the pit stop, which comes out on Wednesday, last weekend in Kansas for the NASCAR boys, and then Long Beach for the IndyCar. Well, later on this week, coming up on Wednesday, we're going to look back at racing last weekend and ahead to the racing this weekend as well. So join the pit stop Wednesday. It'll be up by 2 p.m. on Wednesday. Robat TV, of course, TME Media AZ as well for the pit stop. And then you got the real Matrix. Did you catch last Friday's episode on chemtrails? Well, it's up for you now, of course, Robat TV. Every Friday, 10 a.m. here at Robat TV, noon on the YouTube, noon on Rumble there for the real Matrix. That is not on YouTube, unfortunately. They do not like the programming there. So it's on rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find the Real Matrix every Friday as well. Of course, all of our other programming that we've already mentioned, the pit stop, the main event, McCollum My Business, all on Rumble as well for you. So check that out on Rumble and give that a follow. For those of you that prefer Rumble over YouTube, there you go for you. Of course, all the shows except for this one have their own podcast for free. The main event, just search the main event with Steven, the main event with Dale. It comes right up for you. The pit stop, well, just search the pit stop with Steven. It pops right up as well. The Real Matrix, well, the Real Matrix, Angry Patriot. It pops up for you on those free podcasting systems. And then this week, special Thursday night programming coming your way, not just here at Robat TV live, also on the YouTube page live as well, TME Media. We're doing a draft show, folks, here, TME Media AZ on YouTube. Yes, the NFL draft comes up on Thursday. What do the Cardinals do? Well, while you're watching the draft, you can mute their entertaining. Me, Bruce Cooper, 17-year NFL veteran, Del Hellestrey. Special guest joining us as well on Thursday. Well, scheduled to join us here. Thursday night here as well, talking NFL draft as it happens, folks. We're not going to just wait till Friday morning and come in and talk it. We're going to talk it while it's happening there in the first round as well. So tell your friends about it. Share us with your friends as well on that YouTube page, TME Media AZ, coming up here. Friday, 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, by the way, is that draft show coming your way. With all that being said, let's get right back into the Market Watch. And everything is pretty much just about, we'll just call it even today is what we're going to call it so far. Oil prices are going up. We've already told you this morning, West Texas Intermediate was up 5.6% early today. It's up to $88 per barrel. The Brent crude, well, it was up 4.3%. It's at $94.18, all because of the ship attacks that are going on there in the Middle East there. And the ceasefire ends tomorrow, folks, that 2-week ceasefire. A lot of posturing between the U.S. and Iran right now as well. So market is kind of just like deer in the headlights right now looking at it. As you can see, Dow Jones is down 24 points right now. S&P 500 is down to 7 points. The NASDAQ also down here, 59 points as well here as the day goes on. The only one that's up is the Russell 2K, the small cap index, but it's barely up. 9 points is all it is up today as well for that small cap index. Bitcoin, well, dropped about 4% over the weekend, clawed itself back to that 75,000 level here, 75,717 for Bitcoin as well as we go into this Monday here. And this is going to be an up and down week here, depending on what happens around the war there with a ceasefire potentially ending tomorrow as well. So got to keep our eyes on that because that's going to drastically affect what we're seeing, not just in the market, but around the business world. And we'll have to pay attention to those tariff rebates that start today. Lots of stuff that could affect companies and the market. And then the first stock we're going to look at here this morning, AST Space Mobile here this time. Down big today, 8.38% as of right now. Well, they launched a satellite over the weekend, but they placed it into the wrong orbit. Yeah. Oops. AST Space Mobile said they put a release out. They said they expect the cost of the satellite to be recovered by the insurance policy, and it plans to conduct orbital launches once every month for 2 months every month or 2 months here in the year of 2026. But obviously, you have one job, and that's to put satellites up and put them in the right orbit. Messed up on this one. They claim they're not going to have any losses because of insurance, but AST Space Mobile down 8.37% based off of the news of that mistake. And then the next one up, couple precious and industrial minor companies, what we can talk about here. First one, Newmont, is that we're going to look at, down 2.16% right now. So prices of precious metals, gold, silver, aluminum, copper, all down here today. Industrial metals also down as we're going into this Monday. Investors are seeing the dollar strengthen here on a Monday, and now that's put the worry about economic growth among higher oil prices out there in the market, right? We could tell you, the airlines are down today because oil prices are increasing. Cruise lines are down today because of oil prices. Now, copper and the precious metals, dollar strengthening today also based off of that as well. And companies like Chevron, ConocoPhillips, Halliburton are all up today because of oil prices as well. Like, you know how it rolls here if you watch this program as well. Also, throw out Freeport McMoran. They're the other mining company we're taking a look at today. Actually, they're up 0.33% here as the day goes on here. So they're slightly up, whereas a lot of the mining companies are basically even or negative here today as well. Gold prices, if you don't know, are down about 1.5% here on Monday morning as well, which is what the Newmont company mines. So they're down 1.5% in terms of gold. Copper prices, well, they're down more than 1.5%, which is what Freeport McMoran focuses on, as we know here in Arizona. But they've kind of rebounded here. They're 0.47% up here as we are talking right now. I can tell you this, in pre-market, they were down 2.5% earlier today for them as well. And now let's get into some local stories. And just a reminder here, if you live in rural Arizona, you know what you got to do this time of year to get ready for. But now it's even a bigger risk this year. And that we're talking about wildfire risk here this summer. Now it's going to be extreme here coming up. In APS, the Arizona Public Service, they're saying they may briefly shut off power in limited areas of some rural counties through that public safety power shutoff program that they have. That program was introduced back in 2024. It's actually never been used in that time frame, but they're reminding it's available to them. But it would be a precautionary step that they could do if conditions become so risky that a power line could potentially contribute to a wildfire. Yeah, right? A power line breaks, power line sparks, hits a dry desert, fire consumes it as well, and big forest fire happens. Consumers, well, you can search your address on the APS website to find out if you live in an area that could potentially be impacted by that public safety power shutoff. Now, so APS says one of the most important things rural power customers can do ahead of wildfire season, well, check with the utility to make sure your phone number and email address are up to date so that they can easily contact you in case of an emergency. And then customers who rely on life-sustaining medical equipment, well, you can register for additional alerts and assistance with the company. APS also recommends rural customers make a plan for emergencies and even clear the plants and debris from around your homes to reduce the fire risk. And fire risk is going to be huge this summer. Not a lot of snowpack this year, not a lot of snow in northern Arizona, not a lot of rain either. So it's going to be a dry summer, plus the earlier heat here this year, leading to dried out conditions. So prepare now for that. If you're in an area that is consumed by that and watching us here today as well. And now let's go to a new study by the University of Illinois out there. Now they find that much of some information isn't publicly available. And I'll tell you what we're talking about here in just a minute. But there are big challenges for communities trying to plan, over regions where water's already scarce. I'll give you 2 seconds to guess what we're talking about here in this survey. Yeah, we're talking about data centers. We hear all the time, right? City of Mesa have upped the water bills for people. APS has upped the water bills for consumers as well. They've done different tiers where data centers get charged more, etc. Well, this survey is suggesting, the data centers rely on water, as we know, to keep their computer servers from overheating. But nobody knows. Very little is known, according to this survey, about their total water use. Yeah. If that's true, how are we regulating it and things to that effect? Researchers for this study estimate that data centers across the U.S. they used about 17 billion gallons of water in 2023. Obviously, data centers have exploded since 2023. That number is obviously expected to rise sharply as demand for the AI and cloud computing continues to grow. But then, at that same time, in this study, they find that consistent, detailed reporting on water use, well, it's extremely rare. In many cases, utilities and tech companies do not publicly disclose that information, which obviously would make it difficult to fully understand the impact on local water supplies. I would argue they don't want you to know about the demand levels because then you wouldn't want them in your communities and everything out there. So interesting study here, from this University of Illinois study that data center water usage kept hush hush out there. Now we got to talk about the Arizona Senate passing a bill last week that's going to require the state's major utilities to file a report every 6 months detailing new extra high load users. Again, like data centers. They're trying to get that information out there as well. The reports to the Arizona Corporation Commission, well, they would have to include the number of new connections and connection requests that these companies get from these high users. Now, like I said, going to the Arizona Corporation Commission, that means that does not every utility, right? That's APS, that's Tucson Electric Power, all regulated by that. But like SRP is not regulated by the Corporation Commission out there, which brings up a question here that Democratic Senator Mitzi Epstein does have a question here. She's one of the three no votes in this. She says that this should apply to all utility providers, not just the major ones at the Arizona Corporation Commission as well. She says repeal the data center tax incentives because it's foolish to keep them any longer. They are no longer needed. They are just a drain on our budget, is what Representative Epstein continued to say as well. The bill does go back to the House now as well. But look, people trying to get their hands around the overall cost here of data centers and, you know, energy, water usage, water pricing has gone up for just consumers because of these data centers and overall usage. They say how we're going to run out of power in a bunch of years, but they keep building these data centers, right? Raising us consumers' power pricing, and it's kind of alarming to, to go through that as well. And another thing that's happening that's kind of interesting. Speaking of semiconductors, AI, and things to that effect, right? Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing up there in the North Phoenix area, well, it's increasing its investment in its chip factories to meet, quote, extremely robust, unquote, AI related demand for their chips. What does that mean? Well, it means in Arizona, well, we're going to play a huge role in the expansion strategy coming up as well. This all came out during an earnings call for Taiwan Semiconductor last week. Their chief executive said the company is increasing its annual capital expenditures. It was at $52 billion. It's going up to $56 billion. It's all to boost its N3 capacity and even support a multi year pipeline of demand for 3 nanometer chips. Those are chips that are used in smartphones and high performance computing. Well, the CEO there did confirm the company's second Arizona semiconductor factory, which they call fabs, if you've heard that term before. They say that the second one will produce 3 nanometer chips. Construction already complete on the building. Now it's just volume production slated for the second half of 2027 coming up here for Taiwan Semiconductor. So they announced the increase in spending. Arizona is wildly going to be part of that growth there for Taiwan Semiconductor moving forward. And then there's a thing that's going on out there around the Taiwan Semiconductor campus up there in North Phoenix. And that's just other things popping up as well. Yeah, Banner Health. They just put down and paid $22.13 million in cash, all for an 18.8 acre, area of land up there in North Phoenix. So now they're going to be a very short distance from that TSMC's sprawling chip campus. Yes, and don't forget, there's other things being built up in that area that had to go through the city government approval. So we're seeing huge growth in that area around the Taiwan Semiconductor plant. So the Phoenix Business Journal came out and they said the deal closed at 22.13 million for that 18.8 acres. It's about 1.18 million dollars per acre. Banner Health, if you don't know, 33 hospital locations across 6 states as well. They offer Banner University Medical Center over in Phoenix. They've now added this parcel to its Arizona holdings as well moving forward. So that's a huge price per acre there. Um, the TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor, back in January, they paid only 197.25 million for about 900 acres up there. Remember, they're expanding their campus and then adding some other things. Yeah, so that's that. What was that North Park master plan up there? So you can see how the price has gone up here with Taiwan Semiconductor continuing to do their growth out there as well. So they're pitching more multifamily up there, industrial, medical office is what they're looking at to support the semiconductor industry. That's obviously huge with Taiwan Semiconductor up there as well. And folks, made it through this Monday show of McCollum on Business. Well, main event coming up right here, 8 to 10 a.m., live here at Robat TV, and then on demand, YouTube, TME Media AZ, Rumble, rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find it on Rumble as well. Going to be a fun Monday. Lots to catch up on the sports side. We got you caught up on the business side. Well, we'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Come and join us. Don't forget, follow TME Media AZ on X as well. Get you set up here for what's going on around the company, shows, updates, and things to that effect. Well, we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great Monday afternoon.